Nobody saw it coming. That's the thing about the most wanted. They move in plain sight, right under your nose, and you don't even realize it until it's too late. The DEA had been watching, waiting, piecing it together for months, and then one morning in Puerto Rico, the whole operation came to a head. Authorities closed in, the nets dropped, and just like that, one of the most notorious figures in recent memory was finally off the streets. His name? Benito Martínez. But if you know anything about anything, you know him by his alias, Bad Bunny. Welcome to Pop Showroom, where we bring you the stories behind the headlines. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because this story goes deeper than anything you've seen in the mainstream media. Now, before you start thinking this is some ordinary bust, some low-level corner boy getting pinched for a few grams, let me stop you right there. This is different. This one hit different, because Benito wasn't moving product through back alleys or shady warehouse deals. No, his operation was far more sophisticated, far more widespread, and honestly, far more dangerous than anything the DEA had seen in a long time. The man had been running the most emotionally devastating enterprise across multiple territories for years, and law enforcement was only just now beginning to understand the full scope of what he had built. The charges? Theft. Mass, systematic, undeniable theft. But not the kind you're thinking. Benito Martínez, the man in the rabbit mask, had been stealing hearts. Not one, not two, millions of them. Across continents, across languages, across generations. Young hearts, old hearts, hearts that thought they were immune, hearts that swore they would never fall. He took them all. No weapon, no threats, just a microphone, a beat, and that voice. That smooth, effortless, almost unfair voice that would slip right through your defenses before you even knew what hit you. Witnesses described the experience the same way every single time. You'd be going about your normal day, minding your business, maybe driving somewhere or just sitting in your room, and then one of his tracks would come on. Could be a slow one, could be an upbeat one. Didn't matter. Within 30 seconds, you were gone. Fully captured, heart officially in his possession. The DEA looked into reports from across the United States, Latin America, Europe, and beyond, and the numbers were staggering. Millions upon millions of stolen hearts, all traceable back to the same man, the same alias, the same operation out of Puerto Rico. Investigators say the case first started gaining real traction around 2016, when early intelligence reports flagged unusual emotional activity in regions where Benito's music was circulating. People were acting differently, walking slower, singing louder, feeling things they hadn't felt in years. One agent on the case, speaking off the record, said he'd never seen anything like it. You could map the emotional disruption by playlist, he said. Wherever the music spread, the hearts followed, and once he had them, he didn't give them back. That was the thing. He didn't just steal them and leave. He kept them. He nurtured them. He built an entire empire around holding on to them, and the people whose hearts he had taken weren't even trying to get them back. They were posting about it on the internet, telling their friends, spreading the word, actively recruiting new victims. It was the most self-sustaining criminal network anyone had ever documented. By the time the authorities were able to properly assess the damage, the operation had grown beyond anything one agency could handle alone. The reach was global. A woman in Spain couldn't hear the name Benito without losing her composure entirely. A teenager in Mexico had his entire room covered in evidence, posters, lyrics, concert dates, all of it cataloged like a shrine to the man who had taken his heart somewhere around 2019 and never returned it. In New York, entire neighborhoods were affected. Barbershops, bodegas, house parties, gyms. You couldn't escape the reach of his operation. The DEA coordinated with international partners to try and map it all out, and the conclusion was always the same. This was bigger than one man. This was a movement. But here's where it gets really interesting. Most criminals, when they know the heat is closing in, they go quiet, they disappear, they lie low, cut contact, shrink their footprint. Not Benito, not even close. While investigators were building the case against him, he was releasing albums, he was performing sold-out shows in front of tens of thousands of people, standing right there in the spotlight, broadcasting his identity to the whole world, and the audience, his victims, the very people whose hearts he had taken, were standing in those crowds screaming his name like he was their hero, like they were proud to be robbed. The audacity of it was almost incomprehensible. One senior DEA official reportedly had to take a personal day after attending one of the concerts undercover. He came back to the office looking shaken, said the man had a gift, and that gift was the problem. There were several close calls over the years, operations that nearly resulted in capture, situations where the net almost closed. But Benito had something most fugitives don't: an army of loyalists. Not enforcers, not hired muscle, just regular people, ordinary fans whose hearts he had taken, who would move mountains to make sure their guy stayed free. They'd flood comment sections, defend him in conversations, show up in numbers that made formal intervention complicated. When you have that many people that deeply invested in protecting you, you're not just a criminal anymore. You're a cultural institution, and cultural institutions are notoriously difficult to bring down. The Puerto Rico operation had been in planning for months. Authorities coordinated carefully, analyzing his schedule, his movements, the rhythms of his life. They waited for the right moment, the right window, and when it came, they took it. Early reports from the scene described the arrest as surprisingly calm. No dramatic standoff, no chase through the streets. Benito was located, authorities approached, and just like that, it was done. People nearby who witnessed the scene said he looked relaxed, almost like he knew this day was coming and had made his peace with it. One onlooker said he was smiling, not in a cocky way, but in the way someone smiles when they know they've already won something that can't be taken back. And that's the thing that makes this whole case so complicated. Even in custody, the man still has the hearts, every single one of them. The theft is complete. The damage, if you can even call it that, is permanent. You can arrest the criminal, but you cannot return what he's taken. And what he's taken has already changed people. Changed how they listen to music, how they feel when they hear Spanish, how they think about Puerto Rico, how they see themselves when they're dancing alone in their kitchen at 2 a.m. to a song that somehow knows exactly what they're going through. How do you prosecute that? How do you undo it? Legal experts are already weighing in, and the consensus is complicated. On paper, yes, the theft occurred. The evidence is overwhelming. The list of victims is so long it reportedly crashed 3 separate government databases when they tried to compile it into one document. But defense attorneys are lining up to argue that no victim suffered, that the stolen hearts were not damaged, but in fact improved by the experience, that being robbed by Benito Martínez left people better off than they were before, more open, more emotional, more connected to something larger than themselves. One attorney was quoted saying that in 40 years of practicing law, he had never encountered a case where the victims were this enthusiastic about their own victimization. Meanwhile, the streets of Puerto Rico feel the weight of this moment. The island that raised him, the island that gave him his voice and his fire and his whole identity, is grappling with what this means. Pride and complexity sitting right next to each other the way they always do when someone from your block becomes something the whole world knows. They are theirs. He came from there, and even now, even with the cuffs on, that doesn't change. Word on the ground is that the holding facility is already receiving an unprecedented volume of outside attention. People gathering, people posting, people making noise in the way that only happens when someone truly untouchable gets touched. Because there's a difference between being famous and being loved, and Benito crossed that line a long time ago. He isn't just famous, he is deeply, irrationally, stubbornly loved by an enormous portion of the planet, and love makes people do extraordinary things, makes them show up, makes them refuse to let a story end the way authorities intend.
The DEA has confirmed the capture. The charges are formal, the case moves forward. But anyone paying attention knows that the real story isn't in a courtroom. The real story is in every phone with his music saved, every heart that's been beating a little differently since they first heard his name, every person who hears about this arrest and feels something personal about it, even though they've never met the man and probably never will. That is his legacy. That is his crime. That is the thing they cannot cage. You can put a man in a room, but you cannot put a feeling there with him. The feeling is already out. It's been out for years. It's in the world now, and it belongs to everyone who let themselves be taken, everyone who didn't run when they heard the beat drop, everyone who surrendered their heart willingly and never once asked for it back. Benito Martínez, Bad Bunny, is in custody tonight. But if you ask the millions of people whose hearts he's currently holding, he's never been more free. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.